made his descendants those remaining on the earth, and left for him favorable mention among later generations. Peace upon Nuh among the worlds. Indeed, we thus reward the doers of good. إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Indeed, he was of our believing servants. So imagine, Allah is testifying to the iman of Nuh alayhi salam. What an honor. Then we drowned the others, meaning those who disbelieved. And indeed, among his kind was Ibrahim. Ibrahim alayhi salam was also of his type. How was he of his type? Nuh alayhi salam was truly a servant of Allah. He made dua to Allah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, what did he do? He also made dua to Allah when he came to his Lord with a sound heart. And when he said to his father and his people, "What do you worship? Is it falsehood as gods other than Allah that you desire? Then what is your thought about the Lord of the worlds?" And he cast a look at the stars and said, "Indeed, I am ill." Meaning he said this to his people, that I am ill. So they turned away from him, departing. Meaning they left him. They didn't take him along with them, because they were going for some festival. And Ibrahim a.s., he was also required to go along with them, but he wanted to stay behind so that he could break the idols. And he happened to be sick at that time, so he really took advantage of that. So they turned away from him, departing. Then he turned to their gods, and he said, "Do you not eat? What is wrong with you, that you do not speak?" And he turned upon them a blow with his right hand. And then the people came toward him hastening, meaning when they returned and they saw their idols broken, immediately they went to Ibrahim. Then the people came toward him hastening. He said to them, "Do you worship that which you yourselves carve, while Allah created you and that which you do?" They said, "Construct for him a furnace and throw him into the burning fire." And they intended for him a plan, but we made them the most debased. Meaning their plan failed. They couldn't burn Ibrahim a.s. They could not harm him because Allah protected him. You know what's interesting over here? Ibrahim a.s. did not go to the festival. And what was the excuse that he gave over there? "I am sick." Perhaps he was actually sick. Allahu A'lam. Maybe he was. And if he was sick, look, he is too sick to go to a festival, but he has all the strength in him to break the idols. So we need to see that when is it that I feel strong and energetic, and where is it that I feel unwell and lethargic and tired and dead? What happens when I have to go to a party? What happens? Like for example, when people have to go for an iftar somewhere, then what happens? They've got all the energy in them. But when we have to go for tarawih, then what happens? Where does our energy go? Isn't it amazing that we'll go for iftar, and then after iftar we will leave the masjid. It's amazing. We will leave the masjid. Yani this is shocking. It's understandable that if a person has little children or somebody sick at home or something like that, that's understandable that a person has to go. But is this correct that a person has all the energy when it comes to enjoying themselves, when it comes to bodily pleasures? But when it comes to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we're like dead and we're lethargic and we've got no energy in ourselves. So we really need to check whose sunnah do we want to follow. Do we want to follow the sunnah of Ibrahim a.s. or do we want to follow the sunnah of the nafs? Right? And what is the sunnah of the nafs? That it لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. It orders a person to do evil. And you know what? It's all in your mind sometimes. Shaitan, the nafs, makes you feel that you have no energy. But what happens? Once you start, then what happens? You have the energy. You get the strength. This is just like before salah. What happens? You're tired, you can barely open your eyes. But all you need to do is just make yourself stand and say Allahu Akbar. And once you say Allahu Akbar, then you're in the salah. Because remember that inna nasra ma'a sabr. Help comes with patience. Meaning we have to be patient first, and then the help of Allah will also come. وَقَالَ إِنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. Ibrahim said, "Indeed, I will go to where I am ordered by my Lord. إِنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. I am going to my Lord. He will guide me." You see, they tried to burn him. It didn't work. They said, "Leave, or else you will be killed." So he had to leave. But when he leaves, he says, "I'm going to my Lord. I'm going to my Lord." Imagine somebody's being thrown out, and they're saying, "Yeah, I am going. I am going." You see how the negative is just instantly turned into something positive? He could have been saying right now, "Oh, you're throwing me out. No, he says, I am going to my Lord. Meaning you can't harm me. You really cannot harm me. You see, the prophets of Allah, they underwent such great trials and tests in their lives. Loss and pain and hardship. But look at how every prophet of Allah converted the negative in his life into something so positive. They said, leave. He said, I'm going to my Rabb. I'm not alone. Just like Ibn Taimiyyah, when the people said that they're planning to kill you, or they're planning to expel you, you're going to be expelled from the city. He said, what can my enemies do to me? If they kill me, that would be shahada. If they expel me, I'll get to travel. And if they imprison me, I'll have privacy. And that is all I want. Because for a believer, remember that a believer enjoys the times that he is all alone. He enjoys those moments when he's all alone. Why? Because then he can really talk to Allah and reflect on himself. Really connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what happens with us many times is that we find more comfort in talking to people than talking to Allah. Malik ibn Dinar said, whoever does not find delight in the speech of Allah and instead finds it in the speech of people, then surely his knowledge has taken a plunge. His heart has become blind and his life has become wasted. Who? The person who does not find delight in the speech of Allah. He doesn't find delight in those moments of loneliness with Allah, but rather he's always craving company of people, socialization. This means that the heart has become blind and the life is getting wasted. Ibrahim a.s. said, Rabbi habli min as-salihin. You see, the prophets, when they're mentioned, their du'as are also mentioned. And this really shows to us that more than anything, what we need to do is trust on Allah and ask Him for what we need. Just fix our attention to Allah and say, Ya Allah, I want this. And I want it from you. Be firm. My Lord, grant me a child from among the righteous. He didn't say, I just want a child, any child, I'm desperate, anything. No, He says, a righteous child. What happens is that when our du'as are not being accepted or immediately responded to, we lower the standard of our du'as. Like for example, if a person wants to get married, they say, Ya Allah, grant me a good, righteous spouse. And when it's not working out, anybody, anything. No, don't say that. I mean, that's when your conviction in Allah is being tested. That with what determination do you ask Allah? And perhaps what you need to do over there is ask Allah for something even better, even more specific. That you really need to know what you want. Look at how Ibrahim a.s. knew exactly what he wanted. Rabbi habli min as-salihin. So we gave him good tidings of a forbearing boy. And this didn't happen that he made dua and instantly his dua was answered. No, his dua was responded to after many years. Many years. Which means the dua was accepted. He was just given a righteous child after some time. And remember that when we make dua, dua is accepted. Because dua is an action that is accepted. When it's made with sincerity, with ikhlas, it's accepted. Definitely accepted. Now it is up to Allah. What He gives us, when, how much, that is His decision. So never ever stop making dua for what you want. Increase in making dua. And look at the quality of Ismail a.s. that's given here. غُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. Of a boy that would be tolerant, forbearing, calm, composed, patient, understanding. And this is a big deal. Because generally, who is calm and quiet? Girls or boys? Generally girls are as they grow older. When they're little, different story completely. But as they grow older, who is it that learns to really control themselves typically? It's the girls. Generally boys, they're given that freedom. And that's also our fault. That we give them that freedom. For example, if there's 2 teenage kids at home, the boy is allowed to go and party with his friends and go to the mall, and the girl is not allowed. Is that fair? That's not fair at all. You should have the same rules for all your children, regardless of their gender. I mean, yes, there's certain things which are appropriate for boys and certain things which are appropriate for girls. That's understandable. But when it comes to certain restrictions, we have to be fair. Because we're sending, mixed messages across to children. And this is really unfair. So many young girls that come and complain to me about this. That my brother has all the freedom that he wants and I'm not allowed. My brother can go with his friends, and if I go for half an hour, my mother is upset with me. And she gave me permission in the first place, but then she gets upset with me. Is that fair? Either allow your children, all of them, girls and boys, or don't allow them. Khalas, simple. But we have to be fair. Anyway, Ghulam and Halim. So Ismail a.s. as a boy, forbearing, obedient, compliant, understanding, فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ. And how was his hilm really demonstrated? Allah says, and when he reached with him the age of exertion, meaning when Ismail a.s. grew up, and he was still a boy who could run around, he had some physical strength, so perhaps he was 13 years of age, he said, "O my son, indeed I have seen in a dream that I must sacrifice you. So see what you think." The dreams of the prophets are revelation, command from Allah. So in it, he was being commanded to sacrifice Ismail a.s. So he asks his son, "What do you think?" And this is also something very important that we need to do. Please, let us not order our children. Ask them. Discuss with them. Let them decide. This doesn't mean that we let them choose to do haram. But what this means is that from the beginning, discuss things with them so that they willingly choose to do what they want to do. Don't just order them around. Because when we order children around, they develop resentment for the parents. They're always on the opposite side, other side. And they don't want to listen to their parents. So we see over here such a big thing. And Ibrahim a.s. says, this is Allah's hukum, by the way. Ibrahim a.s. doesn't have an option. Ismail a.s. doesn't have an option. This is Allah's hukum. Ismail has to be slaughtered. But yet Ibrahim a.s. says, فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. This is Allah's order. See what you think. What do you say? What should be done? And if a father has been treating his son like this from the beginning, hearing the child out also, what do you think? What do you have in mind? Discussing with them, then what do you expect from such a child? He said, "O my father, do as you are commanded. Do as you are commanded. You will find me, if Allah wills, of the steadfast." Now this is his hilm. This was the tolerance, the composure of Ismail a.s. He's not crying and screaming over here, "My life, your religion, your prophethood is taking over my life. What about me? My choices?" No. Look at his hilm over here. You see, sometimes we complain that, we're so busy. We don't have time to talk to our children. Ibrahim a.s. was so busy that he didn't even live with Ismail a.s. He didn't. He only came to visit a couple of times. Who was really doing the tarbiyah? It was the mother. And the brief moments that Ibrahim a.s. got to spend with Ismail a.s., it really shows how he was that Ismail a.s. trusted his father. He didn't dislike his father. Our problem is we exist in the same space, but we don't communicate with each other. We don't really have strong relationships even inside the house. We don't take interest in the lives of one another. For example, a little girl, she's got nail polish on and she's trying to show it. And everybody's just lost in their phones. Or the mother is just busy cooking. Ignoring children. We don't even notice these little things that are very important to children. So, even if it's little time that we get to spend with our children, it better be quality time. It better be quality time in which we establish trust, a strong bond, communication, friendship. So that all the father has to do is share with the child, this is what we're supposed to do. And the child says, "Yeah, of course, I'm in this with you."